It is minus 20 degrees in a town outside Omsk, and a young man is scraping ice off a truck he does not own. He is 25. He earns 40,000 rubles a month, about $440, and he owes more than that. On the 10th of every month, his phone rings twice. The bank in the morning, his mother in the evening, pretending she is not asking. In his town, that is what a young man's month is worth. Enough to eat, never enough to leave. Every morning, he passes the same billboard on the road into town. Today, for the first time, he stops in front of it. Sign the army contract today, it says, and receive 400,000 rubles, up front. In one afternoon, 400,000 is 10 years of his wages for one signature. He cannot stop doing the math. But this is not really a story about an army. It is a story about a ladder and the men who climb it. Because at every rank of that ladder, there is a number. And behind every number, there is a life. Today, we climb it together, rung by rung. The conscript, the contract soldier, the sergeant, the officer, the general. And we open the books on every one of them. This is Rank and Ledger. In today's episode, every rank of the Russian army, what each one is paid, and what that money actually buys, from the bottom bunk to the marble office. We start at the bottom of the ladder, where the pay is smallest, and the choice is barely a choice at all. One thing before we climb. If you want to see who really gets paid in worlds like this one, armies, empires, cartels, subscribe now and leave a like. It genuinely decides whether this channel survives. You are 18. A letter arrives on a gray spring morning. Every Russian man must serve 1 year. There is no signature to give, only a date. At the station, your mother hands you a plastic bag. Boiled eggs, bread, a jar of pickles, and a chocolate bar she could not really afford. They put you on a train with 100 other boys. Some laugh too loud. Some stare out the window. Nobody sleeps. They shave your head in the first hour. They hand you a uniform a size too big, boots a size too small, and a bed in a room of 40. Your pay? 2,000 rubles a month? About $22. In a country where the average wage is 73,000, $22 a month buys you this: cigarettes, soap, phone credit, and instant noodles from the soldier's shop when the mess hall runs thin. The chocolate bar from your mother's bag lasted one evening. The old-timers taxed half. Everything that enters this building is taxed by someone above you. That lesson is free. Inside the fence, cigarettes are the real currency. 2 packs buy a kitchen shift, 5 buy a quiet weekend. A whole carton buys a favor nobody names out loud. The mess hall serves kasha, bread, and tea. Meat, on paper, twice a week. Your stomach learns the difference between paper and practice. At 2 in the morning, you stand guard in minus 30, counting streetlights to stay awake. Nobody pays you extra for the cold. The cold is included. On Sundays, you queue for the phone. You tell your mother the food is fine. Every boy in that line tells the same lie. In your locker grows the Dembel album. Photographs, badges, pressed patches. The folk art of men counting days. It is the only thing in this building that is truly yours. Some months, you even send 500 rubles home. $5. Your mother refuses it twice, then buys medicine with it and tells you she bought flowers. When your boots split in February, the quartermaster shrugs. A conscript with money buys his own. A conscript without money learns to love tape. Could you live a month on $22? Be honest. Comment below. On the wall by your bunk, every conscript keeps the same calendar. 100 days left. 50. 10. You are not living here. You are counting. The state is not paying you to live. It is storing you. A year of your life, warehoused, for the price of a phone card? Then, near the end of your year, an officer slides a contract across a desk, taps the signature line, and calls it a formality. You are 19. And saying no to stars on a shoulder is a skill that nobody ever taught you. The second rung is where the real money begins, and where the poorest men in Russia are offered a way out. You are the man from Omsk again. This time, you walk in on purpose. The recruiter smiles like an old friend. His pen is already uncapped. First, the medical line. 50 men in their underwear in a cold corridor, each holding a folder of stamps. The doctor looks at you for 11 seconds. Fit. The signing bonus? 400,000 rubles, about $4,400. In 2022, it was less than half of that. In the poorest regions, governors stack their own bonuses on top, competing for the men the economy forgot. In some regions, the total clears 1 million rubles, about $11,000, before you ever wear a uniform. The afternoon the bonus lands, you sit in the truck outside the bank and read the balance 4 times. You have never seen a number with that many digits belong to you. The first week, you pay off the bank. The second, you fix your mother's roof. The third, you buy real winter boots and a phone that holds a charge. You take your mother to the cafe on the square, the one with the menu you both used to read from outside. You order without looking at the prices. For 3 weeks, you are the richest man on your street. So tell me, for 10 years of pay in one afternoon, would you have signed? Comment below. 3 weeks later, a green bus comes. You put on the uniform, and the man from the garage disappears into it. Contract pay? 210,000 rubles a month. About $2,300, 3 times the national average. And this is how a month of it actually gets spent. 80,000 home to your mother, 60 into savings, 30 on food and the Garrison shop. The rest, you are learning to waste. Contract men live 4 to a room, not 40. A locker that locks. A mattress with springs that still believe in something. Small dignities, priced monthly. Garrison life is drills, duty rosters, and waiting. But on the first of every month, your phone buzzes, and the waiting means something. On your first leave, you walk into the electronics store like a man entering enemy territory and leave with a laptop for your mother and headphones you will never use. You keep a notebook with 3 columns: sent home, saved, spent. The first column is the biggest. It always is, for men like you. On weekend, leave you learn what money sounds like. It sounds like you saying, "I will get this round." Nobody argues with the man in uniform. Back home, your mother stops cleaning the school. Your name starts opening doors. The butcher rounds down now. The bank manager stands up when you walk in. Your mother gets her teeth fixed. 11 years she chewed on one side and called it a habit. It cost 1 week of your salary to end 11 years. In the Garrison shop, you buy what the army does not issue. Decent socks, a warm liner, better gloves. The older men say the smart ones always do. On Sunday video calls, she looks younger. Money did not do that, she says. Then she angles the camera at the new radiator and laughs. This is the deal on the second rung. The state finally pays you like you matter because now it owns your time completely. Survive long enough, follow orders well enough, and the ladder notices. Rare men get stripes. 2 years in, you have chevrons on your shoulder and a squad of your own. The pay climbs, so does the weight. A sergeant clears past 250,000 rubles a month, about $2,700. More than a doctor in Omsk. More than your old boss. There are bonuses stacked on bonuses now. Class qualifications, long service premiums. The ledger rewards the man who learns to speak its grammar. You rent a 1-room flat near the base for the leave weekends. First place in your life, with a door that locks and no bunk above your head. In the notebook there is a 4th column now. The number, 3 million rubles. The price of the life that comes after this one. Every month, it gets closer. You buy a used car with cash, count it out on the dealer's desk in one sitting. The dealer counts it twice. You enjoy watching him count. A girl named Katya from the bakery answers your messages differently now. Money does not buy love, but it buys the confidence to ask. You buy your mother a television so large she is embarrassed in front of the neighbors. She complains about it every day. She watches it every night. The boys in your squad are 18, 19, the age you were 4 winters ago. They call you old man. You are 27. You teach them the things the manual leaves out. Which sergeant to avoid? Which cook to befriend? How to make $22 last a month. One of them comes to you about money. A debt back home. A family thing. You lend him 20,000 and never mention it again. That is also what the stripes cost. Stripes also mean paperwork. Leave requests, equipment counts, explanations for everything broken by boys who break things. You sign more than you shoot. Above the enlisted men there is a line that money and manners both refuse to cross. The line where the officers begin. A lieutenant went to academy instead of a garage. He has a map, a warm office, and a career path printed like a train timetable. An officer's pay climbs past 350,000 rubles a month, about $3,800, and the state builds him a life to match. He counts his money differently, not in what it buys, but in what it guarantees. A schedule, a pension, a future with railings on it. There is a military mortgage. Serve, and the state quietly pays toward an apartment in your name year after year, in an account you cannot touch but cannot lose. And at 45, an officer retires on a pension for life. In Omsk, men retire at 65, tired or not at all. The latter pays longest at the top. His children will go to the good school. His wife shops where the prices are not discussed. His car starts every morning, in any weather. Above the lieutenant, a captain waits for a major to retire, who waits for a colonel to be promoted. The ladder teaches even its winners to wait. The officers eat in a separate room, off better plates. Same army. 2 different countries, divided by 1 stripe. And yet the lieutenant does not think of himself as rich. He thinks of himself as owed. On this ladder, everyone is looking 1 rung up. And at the very top of the ladder sit the men who never wore mud on their boots at all. 1,500 kilometers from Omsk, in a warm Moscow office, sits the man who signs the budget that every rank below him is paid from. His official salary is a few 100,000 rubles a month, printed plainly for anyone to read. On his wrist is a watch worth more than your entire signing bonus. On his driveway, a car worth 10 of them. His month costs more than your year. The dinners, the driver, the tailored uniforms. Nobody asks how. Asking how is a career decision? A driver waits downstairs. His children study abroad. His summers happen at a lake house with a gate and a guard who salutes the car, not the man. The apartments, the watches, the country mansions. They tell a number no salary could ever explain. Because the real fortune on this ladder is not earned, it is taken, and this is the rung that never appears on a poster. In 2025, a Russian deputy defense minister was convicted of embezzlement and sentenced to 13 years. The money meant for the men below had quietly become his. 13 years for him. But money like that is rarely all found. Ledgers like his have pages that never surface. The mansions were real. The cash was real. Found in stacks, tagged as evidence, in rooms the conscript could never afford to enter. It unraveled over invoices. Contracts signed at twice the market price, paid to companies that existed for 1 season. The paper always remembers. Every contract on this ladder passed across somebody's desk. Boots bought at triple price. Uniforms that existed only on paper. Every rank below paid the tax without ever seeing it. Remember the boy in the barracks, making $22 last a month? His boots were in that budget. His meat, twice a week on paper, was in that budget. So here is the whole ladder on 1 page. The man at the bottom gives everything for a coin. The man at the top gives nothing and takes the pile. The poorest man in Russia is not just serving the army. He is quietly funding the fortune of the richest man in it. Is every army in history built like this? The bottom paying for the top? Comment below. As for the man from Omsk, he finishes his contract at 29. He comes home with savings, a car, and a name that opens doors. He does what nobody on his street has ever done. He buys the garage, the one with the truck he used to scrape ice from. His name goes over the door. His first customer is an army truck with a dead battery. He charges them full price, plus the weekend rate. Some debts collect themselves. Katya from the bakery marries him in spring. His mother cries in a new coat. For 1 street in 1 town, the ladder worked exactly as advertised. The savings notebook retires to a kitchen drawer. 4 columns, 3 years, 1 exit. Most men on the ladder never fill the 4th column. He knows exactly how lucky he is. But on the road into town, the billboard is still standing. The number on it is bigger now. It goes up every year the ladder needs new men. He never tells the young ones not to sign. What would he even say? It worked for him. And that is exactly how the ladder keeps working. And somewhere behind him, another young man is scraping ice off a truck he does not own, doing the same math he once did. He will sign. They always do. And the ledger, which never argues and never forgets, will simply open a new line and wait. If this changed how you see that billboard, leave a like and subscribe. And comment which world we climb next, a cartel, the Vatican, or a Roman legion. Top comment decides. In Russia, a man's labor is cheap, his signature is bought, and someone in a warm office has already spent both. The ledger never closes.